Hello, and welcome to the latest update on the Digital Colour Cubes and Colour Companion web platform. In this update, I'll be doing a bit more of an in-depth walkthrough so that you'll be able to see where everything's at and what you'll have access to as soon as the platform's live. Firstly, I wanted to thank you for your patience while we continue to make tweaks and changes to make this the best possible version it can be. I know so many of you are eagerly awaiting the release, and I know we've delayed it a few times, but my hope is that this will be worth the wait. We're getting very close to being able to start bringing users online, and we will start letting you know as soon as we are doing that. If you have the digital colour cubes, we've made a PDF version available to give you some colour inspiration to work through while you're waiting. So let's jump into the companion and start exploring. The Colour Companion contains a number of different tools that you can see when you log on. There's a Colour Explorer, which helps you find the exact colour you're looking for and is the perfect place to start matching your art supplies. If you'd like to get straight into converting art supplies and colours, there's an art supply converter which lets you find the closest art supply based on a hex code, a medium you own, or a colour palette from the digital colour cube. Next, we have a colour name database. This is all of the colour names that we use in the colour cubes and digital colour cubes that you can browse through. We have a colour palette browser, which lets you explore the digital colour cube palettes that you own, as well as exclusive palettes for Colour Companion subscribers. We have a place where you can look through all of the art brands and art supplies that we have in the system. It will show you all of the colours, sets, and information that we have in our art supply database. And then we have a help section which will contain tutorials and help articles for getting the most out of your digital colour cubes and Colour Companion. The Colour Companion also has areas that you can customise. There's your art stash, which contains all of the art supplies that you'll be using for matching and converting. The digital colour cubes, which is another area for browsing the specific palettes and collections of your colour cubes. Favourites and collections for saving your own colours and favourite colour palettes. And an exports area, which keeps a history of some of the different printables that you've exported recently. We'll also have an area where you can update your profile and your details, as well as a section for you to see what's planned for the future. So the first area we're going to look at is the Colour Explorer. The Colour Explorer is set up for you to be able to find a specific colour that you want to work with. You can type in a hex code, or you can use the wheel to find the exact colour that you're looking for. From here, you'll get the colour data if you're working with different colour spaces, and it will also match up with the closest colour name within our colour name database. You can also save or favourite the colour, which will take the specific hex code and save it with our colour name. Underneath this, we have the darker and lighter, as well as the cooler and warmer variations of the colour that you've chosen. If you like one of these more than the original colour that you chose, you can copy the hex code and update your colour up here to work with that one instead. We've also included the colour harmonies for your colour in both RGB and RYB variations, because we found that some people who use the colour cubes work with one while others work with the other, so we've included them both. One of the changes that we're waiting for our developers to implement is an update to the colour harmony algorithm, so these colour harmonies will be better than what you see on the screen now once it's released. The last section of the Colour Explorer is an area to match your art supplies. This is similar to what you'll find in the art supply converter screen, but it's also here as a bit more of a quick access function. By default, your top 3 art supplies will be matched here, but for subscribers, you'll be able to select any art supply that's within your stash. This will also show you how close of a percentage match the colour is, as well as the next best alternative. Subscribers will also have access to a suggested mix as well, which will give you a simple mix that might get you an even closer match than just using a single art supply. One thing I love about the Colour Companion is that you can also export an information sheet for that colour, which gives you all of this information in a printable PDF document that you can save on your device and print later if you need it. Next is the art supply converter, starting with a colour. This is similar to the Explorer, except it's more focused on matching art supplies to a colour that you already know that you want to use. It'll give you the colour information and matches that you need, as well as an exportable conversion chart for referring to later on. Let's say you're working with 2 different art supply mediums, or maybe you're using one type of pencils for one part of an image, or another set for a different part. Using the converter and starting with a medium will allow you to select 2 different art supplies within your art stash and the system will find the best match between them. The great thing about this is that it only works off the art supplies that you actually have, so you won't ever get a match for an art supply that you don't own. But keep in mind, the larger set you have, the better the matches will be. You'll also get percentages and alternatives, and for subscribers, mixed suggestions where available, as well as different export options depending on what you need, and if you need to swatch in any of the colours yourself. This is my favourite part of the Colour Companion. Here you can shuffle through the colour palettes that you have access to, or if you know the colour, type it straight in and convert it to your art supplies. This is also based off the art supplies that you have, so you won't be recommended something that you don't have. And as we database more art supplies, you'll get access to them straight away. Once you've found the perfect palette and colours, you can export your own printable for future reference. And another thing with most of these colour tiles throughout the website, you can click on them to see more information about the colour or the art supply, as well as putting it in your favourites or custom collections for subscribers. By default, free users will be able to work with 3 art supplies at a time, which you can change at any point. If you have a subscription, you'll be able to work with your top 3 art supplies as well as any other art supply that you have in your stash. We created this resource so that you would have access to a database of over 700 colours that we use on the colour cubes and digital colour cubes. One thing that we changed from the first edition is spending months and months researching, sorting and categorising the colours to give you a much wider range of names so that 2 similar colours on the same card won't end up with the same name. One thing to clarify here is throughout the 1000 colour cube cards, you will see very similar colours that have different hex codes with the same name across different cards. This is because there are millions of colours, and so each name encompasses a group of hex codes, and our database here shows the middle of that range. If you remember back to the Colour Explorer and pick a colour at random, and then make very slight changes, there will be some variation until the colour name changes. Back to the colour names. For each of these colours, you can see more information about them by clicking on them, as well as similar colours to that one, and you have the ability to then work with that colour if you like it. If you're looking for a colour palette, you can browse the volumes and collections that you have access to here. We have the ability to filter based on collections, colours and keywords to help you narrow down your choices. And for subscribers, that includes custom collections and subscriber palettes. Once you've found something you like, you can then have a look at it in more detail. This page will give you more information about the colour palette, as well as each of the colours, and lets you interact with each one of them, such as copying the hex code, favouriting the colour, or even using that specific colour to do other things. Each colour palette will also show you similar palettes you can browse if there's something that looks more interesting. On this page, you can also export the information to use later, download the swatch files for Procreate or Adobe software, as well as match art supplies to it with this shortcut. There's tabs here for showing each of the colours' colour space information if you need it as well. You can also browse back and forth through colour palette numbers from here, or click on the number and type in the specific reference if you know what you're wanting to use, or if you're using a random number generator to find your palette. At the start of this video, I mentioned that we had an area for browsing art brands. This area looks empty at the moment, but when we go live, this will be filled with as many different art supplies as we can database, which will be available to you as soon as we load them in. The purpose of this part of the companion is not just for you to see what art supplies we have available, but if you are looking at getting a new art supply for yourself, you'll be able to see the colour range available as well as what sets there are. Clicking on any of these colours will give you all of the colour information we have available and allow you to explore that colour further and see what the closest art supply is in something you already own. For example, in the polychromos, I like this deep red pencil here, and I can see that it's only available in the 120 set. I could get this pencil open stock, but that's not always an option, so I'm going to explore this colour to see if I own anything already that's close, which I do. From this screen, you can also add the art supply to your stash or find out more information about the product from the manufacturer. This is where you can customize all the art supplies that you own throughout the companion website. This also has the biggest difference between a free account and a companion subscription. Free accounts can have a maximum of 3 art supplies at any point in time, which you can change as you need. However, subscribers can have an unlimited amount of art supplies in their stash. In the art supply stash, you can also create a swatching template for your specific art supply. This is also in the order that you've got it in your creative space. At the moment, we have 3 different options, but like with most of the PDF exports, we'll be adding more over time. When adding a new art supply, we're going to start by selecting our art supply type and brand. Next, we'll click on this art supply, as this is the one we want to add. In this example, I'm going to say that we have a 40 set, however we don't have the black pencil anymore, and we also bought a few open stock ones, so we're going to make those adjustments here. Once we're happy with that, we can click Next. This screen is where we can change the order of the art supplies. By default, they're in the manufacturer's order based on the full set, but we can drag and drop them as we need. If we discover that we accidentally added one we shouldn't have, we can also delete it here. Click Complete and it will start building in your ArtStash and will be available to use a few minutes later. For companion subscribers, you can also mark any of these as your top 3 if they're the ones you most commonly work with. This is handy for some of the other functions like the color converters and color explorer. The digital color cubes is an area where you can register or buy digital color cubes, and is another place that you can browse them. You'll notice some of these functions are similar to other areas of the website, and we've done this intentionally so that you can find and use what's easiest for you. You can quickly select a digital color cubes collection here and browse, but you can also do that in the Browse Color Palettes area. On this screen, you'll also be able to download the printable version of the digital color cube, as well as swatches and ASC files if you'd like them. Clicking on a color palette here will also allow you to get back to the same color palette detail page as the other areas of the companion, and do some of the other things that we showed you back in the Browse Color Palettes section. Collections is another area that has some difference between free and paid users. Free users will have the ability to access favourite colours and palettes that they've saved in one location. Subscribers will also have access to favourites, but will also have the ability to create specific collections for palettes and colours that you can access later. This is handy if you want to create your own themes or sort favourites based on a project that you're working on. Subscribers will also gain access to the new digital-only colour palettes, which will create over time and load into the companion. This means that you'll be able to work with some colour palettes even if you don't own a digital colour cube. This area will start small, but will grow over time. As you can see, we're getting really close to having this ready to go live. Even after the release, there'll still be some bugs to iron out and some features to tweak, so it's important to know that this won't be a perfect system straight away. As soon as we're ready to launch, we'll update the README in your order and resend your order details so you'll get an email with the download links again. For digital color cube users, the email will contain your registration key for the cubes, and for companion lifetime users, a code which will mean you'll have access to the pro features without having to pay for a subscription. If you've bought both, you'll get both of them together. Thank you for watching, and once again, thank you for your patience and for your support. This project is a massive undertaking by the team, and we know that you're going to love using it. If you're interested in ordering the digital color cubes or getting the lifetime subscription access while it's discounted, there is still time available, and I look forward to launching this with you as soon as possible.